Hey, everybody. Welcome to RiverCity-Media. Going to get the show started a little bit quicker before the countdown ended, before we lose Randy again. And so, sorry about coming on a couple minutes late because Randy can't get his camera situated and everything else.
Look, we have an important guest here. Y'all can start abusing me later. So let's move it on and quit abusing the host now.
Well,
Well, I'm the
now
host.
let me throw my 2 cents in before we get to that, and then we'll just go ahead and end it. Well, a while ago, what it was is that was AI. Randy got through, and now he finally made it back. So
That's it.
So we're back to RiverCity-Media beyond the booth. Sorry we're a couple minutes late, but you done found out why. Anyway, I'm the Howard Chaney. I'm only going to be here for a couple of minutes. Down below me is the founder of River-City-Media, Randall Cunningham, and to my left is Phil Harris from WQSB Radio, and our special guest tonight is Jack Evitts of Sequatchie County Football, and he's a young, good-looking guy down there in the left corner. Point the other way, Randy.
No, you're pointing the wrong way to me. So
I'm pointing right at him. Anyway, Jack Evitts, thanks for joining us tonight, and I'm sorry you're having to put up with all this nonsense.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
I met you earlier this year, and like I told you, I just wanted to jump on and say, hey, get used to seeing this ugly face here because you're going to be on here quite a few times between now and the time you graduate Sequatchie.
Yes, sir.
And but a little bird told me about 45 minutes ago that you have a tea time tomorrow, and he says that you're not very good with your driver when you're playing golf.
I'm just not very consistent. Sometimes I'll hit it, sometimes I don't. I just swing hard, hope I make contact. But my irons, my short game, way better than Luke. I'll say that. Way better than when I get close.
Luke's already said he's got 10 strokes on you already before you even teed off.
He just gives me a hard time. He's my scramble partner, so I don't know why he's hating on me so much.
well, and Howie, Jack said that Sam has just been lazy all summer and playing golf. So they were all had bad things to say about each other. So
absolutely. Jack, I've got one question I'm going to ask you, and I'll get out here real quick. And it's the same question I've asked your brothers and everybody else. And it's basically, before you take the field, superstition-wise, ritual-wise, is there anything you have to do before you take the field to play football?
Well, usually we get down to the field house about 1:30, and I got me my air mattress set up in the field house, so I plug it in, go to sleep till pregame meal. Once I eat my meal, I wake up, I watch me a movie, I get stretched, put my headphones on, and get ready to go to work.
I love it. I've never heard anybody say they had an air mattress at the field house.
Gotta have it. Gotta be rested up.
and back in our day, that would have been a water bed.
I love it. Jack, best of luck to you this upcoming season. I've got to head on out. I've got other things going on, but pleasure meeting you. And this ain't the last time I ever meet you, and this won't be the last time we talk on RiverCity-Media either.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me.
One last thing, I do want one favor from you. Try to keep this guy down below me in check if you can.
Yes, sir.
Randy, I'll turn it over to you.
Howie, just for the record, Jack Evitts has broadcasted a football game with me. During his freshman year, he was injured. He came to the booth and worked as my spotter. And let me tell you, when you got a spotter that big behind you, you don't get the numbers wrong, because I was afraid Jack would beat me up. So,
yeah, let me tell this story real quick. When I met you earlier this year, my daughter was with me, and you came walking by, and I told her, I said, hey, that's Jack. He's from Sequatchie County, and he's the same age you are. She's like, no, he's not. I thought, yeah. And she's like, no, he's too big to be my age. So I text Randy. I'm like, Randy, what grade or how old is Jack? He's like, he's 15, 16. He's going to be a junior this year. So I told my daughter, I said, yeah, he's the same age you are, same grade. And she's like, my gosh, he's a monster. I said, yep, that's how they grow football players up there in Sequatchie County. They grow monsters.
absolutely.
So, guys, good luck to you. Talk to y'all later.
Thank you.
See you, Howie.
See you, Howie. Hey, Jack, that leads into the first question. I know you've camped a lot this summer. Well, let's put you here in the middle. Where's your measurables at right now? What height, weight are you at right now?
I'm typically around 6'4", weighing between 215 and 220 pounds.
have you run a clocked 40 yet, or are you waiting until next year to do that?
I've gotten my clock 40s. I'm usually about a 4.9, 4.8, typically around there.
And you're a junior, so it will improve from there. Is running, you play faster than when you said 4.8. I was kind of, or 4.8, 4.9. I'm kind of surprised because you play faster than that. Is that because of your size on the field that you can carry the equipment a little faster or something?
Well, I just try to run faster than the guy that's chasing me, so makes me run a little fast.
Hey, Jack, before I turn you over to Phil, I want to talk about, and I talked with Luke about it, and nobody in Sequatchie County has been scared of it. There is expectations for this football team, and I think they're major expectations. Team goes to semifinals last year, and you run into Alcoa, who's won 17 and 19 state championships. They move up to 4A. East Tennessee is kind of wide open, and I would say Sequatchie County slots into that, one of the teams that everybody's talking about. Is that the way you feel too, or how's the team feel about expectations right now?
Well, of course, our goal is to end the season in Chattanooga playing for a state championship, hopefully winning it. But we got a great group of guys who are all working towards the same goal, working hard at practice every day. We've got a great coaching staff that's pushing us to that goal. We got a great team with a bunch of great guys who just want to win and play football. That's what it's all about.
Last year, it was kind of getting past the Giles County. I guess they kind of had Sequatchie County's number. Was it somewhat satisfying just to put Giles County in the rearview mirror last year?
Yeah, that was a hump I think our program had to get over. So of course I've never really played them, so I didn't have any expectation other than to win the football game. But it meant a lot to those seniors and juniors who've struggled to beat them the past couple of years. But they kind of laid the foundation. They were a really good class to be ahead of. They worked really hard. It was just a great group of guys to play with.
It was bittersweet. I think that's the game Sam got hurt in. He talked about last year, and how Phil, I'll come to you after this question. He talked about for 2 years, the year you set out with, you had a little knee issue you had to take care of. Just being on the field as brothers, how special was that to you and Sam?
Yeah, if it was a great moment. Most people don't ever get to do anything like that. When you get to catch footballs from him, it's even better. So it was great being out there with him. He was a great player. I really enjoyed playing with him every minute of it.
Quarterback this fall at Maryville College, and I'm hoping to be able to feel we're hoping to be able to go to UT games and maybe swing by and catch a couple of Maryville games on our way up. So maybe we can see Jack or see Sam get it next year. And as I understand, he's in a situation. There's 2 seniors ahead of him, and then it's going to be open competition next year. So, Phil, what you take away with Mr. Jack here?
Jack, on expectation-wise, of course, I know exactly where you sit because going into my senior year, the expectations were high, and we ended up winning the state championship. But as well as I do, it's one game at a time. It's one play at a time. As a quarterback, leadership is huge, and I know the goal is to win a state championship, but how do you keep the guys kind of focused, because you're kind of going to be the coach on the field because you're going to have to take care of one game at a time?
Right. Yes, sir. So, kind of it starts off our practice and preparation. One practice at a time, one practice rep. You got to get better in practice, got to understand what the team you're going to be playing is, and you got to, study the film room. So just preparation is probably the biggest thing that really matters. And, that good preparation leads to success in the field. So.
And Jack's defensive end and a tight end. His brother Sam was the quarterback. Jack plays tight end and defensive end. He outgrew quarterback.
Outgrew quarterback. Okay, I got you. Well, the one thing I do want to ask you about is how do the coaches deal with the expectations? Social media can be a distraction. Naturally, you're going to have big write-ups in the newspaper. You're going to be ranked high naturally, and that don't really mean anything right now. It's just, it's just paper material. And I'm sure the coaching staff right now is cautioning you guys against that.
Right. Yeah. So, we don't really read too much into what people say. All we really care about is the 75 guys we got working towards one goal, and it's the state championship. We don't really read too much into what everybody else cares about. We all know that we got the one goal and it's to win a state championship, and we're all in the building together as one goal.
Well, tell me this: when you go to camps, and naturally, different coaches are going to teach you different things. They're going to specialize in different things, and then you have the coaching staff back home that want you to do a certain way. How do you mix all that together? Do you oftentimes maybe give a suggestion to your coach about what you learned at a camp, and y'all kind of work together on that, or who's ultimately the boss?
Well, right. You obviously want to do what your high school coach is telling you, but the good thing about that is our coaching staff is so great that most of the things that they're telling us in high school is the same things they're telling us at these college camps. It's the same technique, the same leverage, the same stance. I mean, that's the kind of level of coaching we have right now, is we're getting the same things taught these college guys are getting taught to them.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Of course, I mean, a lot of your coaches probably go to these camps and learn these same type of things.
Yes, sir, they do.
Yeah, that's definitely so. Well, tell me this. I know the expectations are to move to the college level. What I want to know is, what are your expectations in a college? What do you think your major might be? So when it comes down to it, there's going to be colleges that offer you different things. It might not just, there may be a team you want to specifically play for, but you're going to have to find your fit. So what are you kind of looking for?
Well, of course, it's the right fit for me and my family first. Kind of where God wants me to go. I would like to study dentistry when I get into college. I want to be a dentist after I graduate. But it's just the right field, the right academics, just the right fit for me. It's kind of like what spot you're going to be as soon as you step on that campus. It just feels like this is where I want to be, and there's just no other place that can match it.
Well, have you taken any unofficial visits?
I've been to several campuses this past year, but I'm still exploring, still young, so I got a lot of time left in the process.
Has there anybody so far that's kind of stood out, maybe a coach or a school that that kind of sort of wowed you a little bit?
Well, of course, first time looking at all these programs, all these SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12 programs, they're all going to blow you away with everything they got to offer, because they just top of the line facilities, top of the line players, top of the line coaches. So of course, every time you go to one of these schools, you're very fortunate and blessed to be seeing everything they have to offer, and it's all very special.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, tell me this, with the expectations for you, and of course, it puts a lot of tension on the team too, is, and oftentimes there can be a little jealousy involved. How do you separate all that attention from your teammates? Because ultimately you want to be the ultimate teammate, because that's what's going to win you ball games on Friday night.
Right. Yeah. I don't think there's any jealousy about it, but we got some really good players down here in Dunlap. I do like to consider myself as a team player. I want to put the team first, of course, above everything else. I just want to win. I want to play football. That's pretty much it.
Well, tell me this: how does your parents factor into this? Helping you with the decision. I'm sure it's yours ultimately, but I'm sure you're going to ask them for advice. So, how is their input important?
Yes, sir. Well, my mom and dad are, of course, super supportive to my dream that I have of playing college football. Ever since I was a little kid, that's all I wanted to do, was play college football. And my mom and dad have done everything in their power to make that dream a reality. And, of course, they're my number one advisors. So, of course, everything they say is very important, and their opinions matter a lot.
Well, I want to ask you this. Do you consider yourself a real physical player, more of a finesse player, or does your smarts enter into a lot of the way your game is?
Well, of course, I consider myself as a physical player. I want to wear the guy out across from me every play. I want to make him not love football anymore. And then, I like to think my IQ helps me out when I'm running my routes. What way I want to leverage the defender that's guarding me, where I want to sit in the zone, what kind of coverage they're playing. It all really depends on what route I'm running. and it helps me get open better. Helps me and my quarterback stay on the same page.
Hey,
Well,
Phil,
tell me this: are you a big film studier?
I am. That's all I can think about is just watching film, who I'm playing against, who the guy gets to play against that week with the team, what they got. I love it. Love watching.
Go ahead, Randy. If you go.
I was just going to add, I'm glad Jack just owned up to being the physical player because I was going to have to jump in. Jack Evitts may be one of the most physical high school players I've seen in my career. And I think it's not dirty with Jack. It's impose the will on your other team. And I really have so much respect for the way Jack plays the game. And he plays it with that almost hard-nosed, old-school value. Would you call that fair, Jack? That's the way you look at it? Just impose your will?
I appreciate you talking that highly of me. I like to be physical.
Yeah. Trust me, I know that much. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, well, tell me this. So in other words, you're not afraid to make the tough catch across the middle because you like that physical play.
Yes, sir. I love going across the middle, making plays.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I guess the film also helps you get on the same page with your quarterback. Do y'all kind of, so I mean, naturally, when you get to the line of scrimmage, there's certain calls, maybe a route change. Is he the one that makes the call, or do you do something to suggest to him what you might run?
Well, it usually just depends because if I'm open and like I'm gonna be like, he knows of course what route I'm running before the play. And me and Hunter, we've been really, really good friends ever since we were little kids playing league football. So we got a really good connection, really good chemistry, and we kind of just know before the play. We usually know what defense or what coverage the defense is running before the play, based on film study and all that, where they're lined up. So we usually know if I'm going to get the ball or not, and we usually don't change routes because we don't want to mess up the scheme we're running that play, the concepts to get our other guys, open. But we usually know before the play if I'm going to get the football based on what coverage they're going to run and what route I'm running.
Definitely. So, well, tell me this, how good is your run blocking? Naturally, when you get to the next level, especially if you're a wide receiver, run blocking is going to be very important. Do you take great pride in that?
Sir, that's what I like to pride myself the most on. I like to block guys first, like to help my teammates run the football, help my team run the football. That's a big part of the game. Who runs the football better and who can stop the run, and whatever I can do to help my team run the football and win football games is what I want to do. Yeah,
definitely. I understand that. But tell me this, what has been so far in your career, what has been your biggest highlight game?
I'm a big blocking guy, so I get a few blocks a game. Had a decent catch in South Pittsburgh this year. Helped us get a first down and keep moving the chains and end up winning that game. But I like make tackles on defense. I really enjoy playing defense. So had a few games where I had a few big sacks and tackles, but I'm not too big of a highlight guy. So
yeah. What do you on the defensive side of the ball? I guess it's good to get ahead. Do you like to peel the ears back and go when it's time to get after the quarterback?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah. What tell me this? You play if you play defensive end, do you kind of sort of at times, is it a position where you also will drift out and play some linebacker?
Yes, sir. Last year, it was just kind of dependent on the team we'd play. Sometimes I'd slide in and play linebacker, and then other times I'd line up, as that edge position. But this year, I'm mostly playing linebacker so far. But it just depends on where they need me that week.
Yeah, well, tell me this: when you get to the next level, what do you feel like is going to be your best position? Do you think you're going to play offense, play defense, and which one is your favorite?
Well, so far I'm getting recruited as a tight end, but of course in high school, having the opportunity to go change the game every single play on defense is very fun. But of course, everybody likes catching touchdowns, so that's there's two sides of it. But I would say I enjoy them both equal.
Yeah, I understand. Well, tell me this, in the recruiting process, have you enjoyed it so far? Can it be hectic at times? Of course, it's going to get more and more as time goes on. But do you enjoy the process so far?
Yes, sir. I have enjoyed it. It's been super cool. It's been kind of a surreal experience. It all kind of happened so fast. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I kind of just want to find the spot that's the right fit for me and settle down and start building a relationship with those coaches.
Yeah, definitely. So do you ask for advice from your brother at times about that? Because, when he was on there, he talked about building relationships with coaches is basically where you get recruited. So I guess, did you ask a lot of advice from him in that, or did you just kind of just follow in his footsteps?
Right. Well, he went through that process a few years ago. So, or I guess not a few years ago, but a couple years ago. And of course, I got to learn from under him what to do right, what to do wrong, what works, what doesn't work. So he kind of got to go through it first, and I kind of learned under him, and so far we think we're doing the right stuff. So it's good that he kind of went before us, and now we know what to do better.
Yeah. Do you feel like, of course, naturally, mom and dad's going to have a big influence, but when coaches come in and talk to you, they want to basically hear from you. So have you been able to communicate with them well? And kind of doing things like this kind of helps in that.
Right. Yeah. I've been, they've been, most coaches, you think they'd be super scary to talk to, and I'm personable, but a lot of these coaches, are just like me. They just love the game of football, enjoy it. They're, students of the game, and they're pretty personable guys and easy to talk to.
Yeah. That's well, Randy, I'll turn it over to you and let you ask a few questions.
Hey, Jack, the one thing Phil brought up that almost stuck out to me is, have you ever – I've been around a long time. I don't know that I've ever seen a 3A team have this many people recruited off of. You've got 6 or 7 college prospects on your team right now.
Right. Yeah, so we're, fortunate to have such a good group. And a lot of that, just us growing up as kids, competing, everybody wanting to be the best guy on the team. And then when you got a bunch of guys striving to be the best, you're going to have a lot of great players. So, guys like Kason Hicks and Harrison Smith are just elite dudes who love the game of football just like I do and are great players. Of course, we got a ton of other guys who are on the team, but we are very blessed to have such a good group of kids at this school. It's a great program.
Kason might have been the best sophomore linebacker in the state last year. And when I say that, it literally is the truth. He was that dominant at times.
No doubt. Yeah, I've played with a lot of good players, camped against a lot of good players, and I have never played against or camped against a guy who has more impact to his team than Kason does. He's special. That's for sure.
One of your teammates I want to discuss about a little bit is Harrison, and the fact that you run so much 2 personnel and 2 tight ends. When they put you 2 out there together at tight end last year, I don't know that they were 2 bigger tight ends in the state. 2 plus 6'3", plus 220 tight ends. Has he mentored you a little bit during your career so far?
Well, yeah, last year, coming to the offense, kind of fresh. Mostly played receiver my freshman year in practice. I was a little smaller, about 6'3", 180, so I wasn't really playing too much tight end. It was mainly Harrison and Colton Brandon. So they were 2 great guys to learn under. They knew the offense really well. They were great mentors. They were great players. So, they helped me kind of step into that role of learning the offense, learning the schemes, learning the routes. Great guys, great technique, great guys to learn under. I'm very blessed that I, went in and had 2 guys above me and with me in that position group that I could count on, and they could help me out.
Last year, you, of course, had your brother playing quarterback. He gets hurt in the Giles County game, and Hunter comes into the game. We were just talking to Luke in the previous podcast about Hunter as a quarterback, and his words was, and Luke, an ex-quarterback, said, Hunter throws the best spiral he's ever caught. Hunter does have a very catchable football.
Man, Hunter can rip it. He throws a great ball. He's a special player, special athlete before. Not a lot of guys can make that switch from receiver and quarterback and be just as impactful on his team. He's a special player.
He is a special player. We won't get into who's who, and you're still early in the process, but there is something that I wanted to ask you about your recruiting process, and it doesn't matter the team. I just want to know what it felt like to get your first SEC offer.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate and very blessed to to have resources where I can camp and get my film out in front of coaches, and coaches believing in me and trusting in the player I am and my work ethic. But it was super surreal, and it was a great moment for sure. But I just got to keep working hard, keep getting better.
In that moment, did you really think, hey, this is me? Was there ever a time you go, it's happening to me?
A little bit, yes, sir.
All right. I saw that. And we went through the process with your brother here. And your brother got hurt in the middle of his recruitment. And thank God for Maribel standing beside him. That says a lot when a coach and a staff shows that trust in you. And that's really what they're doing at this point.
Yes, sir. They definitely, coaches having faith in you is a big thing. So it's just, that's very important to me. Coaches staying by me no matter what, having a good relationship with them. It's very important.
Now, I've heard rumors that the team kind of and yourself are kind of, maybe you're going to full blast with recruiting to season starts, and then you still have to go through the process some, but does it slow down for you at that point?
Well, of course, when season gets here in July and we put the pads on and we're practicing, all I care about is one goal, and it's winning a state championship for our team. But definitely still gonna be in my recruitment process. But of course, number one goal is winning a state championship, doing the best for my team, and finding the right spot for me as a player.
Jack, known you a long time. I called your 7th and 8th grade game. To say we have expectation for this group is beyond. We just talked about it with Luke. How do you manage your expectations for the upcoming season? And last year, big expectations. First game of the year was, I think, a shock to the football team, and losing at Bledsoe. Did that teach you to go through the process one game at a time? Because the next, I think, 3 out of 4 weeks, you beat South Pittsburgh and Marion, a team that won the state championship and the team that won it the year before. Was that kind of awakening for you as a player and the team in general?
Right, like you said, we had a very talented team last year with a bunch of talented players, a lot of seniors, a lot of juniors, had some underclassmen playing. But, of course, we went into Bledsoe with a bad mentality and a bad mindset. Didn't have a great week of practice. And, they were a good team. We didn't give them credit for what they were. And, they won the game. They played they executed better. They ran the football better. They stopped the run better. They were a great team, and they beat us straight up. And of course, that was it's not what we wanted to happen. We had high expectations for that team last year. It was a special team with a special group. And of course that flipped a switch in us that we didn't want to ever feel that feeling again. And, we won 12 straight, ended up losing to Alcoa in the semifinals, but that game definitely, it woke us up.
And that stays with you this year too, don't it?
Absolutely. That's all I've been thinking about, was getting to play them again.
Hey, Phil, I had to get him tuned up a little bit to play Bledsoe. I'm gonna let you go now. But Jack, again, hey, Phil too, maybe the best junior high team I saw in my life was their 8th grade team. They were so dominant. And a lot of those, Jack, a lot of you are now starting on the varsity high school team.
Yes, sir. We got a great group. We got a lot of guys play last year, several guys start, and a lot of our big impact key players are going to be out of my sophomore or upcoming junior class, my class of 2027. So we got a great group.
Absolutely, Phil. Let me turn it over to you. You know a thing or two about winning a state title. You did back when. Did you wear leather helmets, or was that no?
No, that was your day. That was in your day. Yeah, that was in your days. Yeah, we actually had face masks.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
Oh, yeah. It's a great ride, and you'll enjoy that, going through the playoffs. Of course, it's not luck, but you're going to have some things bounce your way. Of course, effort and being prepared and all those, there's a lot that goes into it. And I think you spoke on something that makes a whole lot of sense. And this happened to us my senior year. we broke a 9-game we had lost to Galesville 9 years in a row. Well, we beat them. We played 5 in the next round and had our opportunities to win that game. Well, they were really good too. They went undefeated that year. Well, they beat us second game of the year. And I remember one of our guys that never talked walked in the locker room, and he told everybody, he goes, I don't like this feeling. He goes, it's not going to happen again. And that's kind of the way you put things. And that's exactly the way it fell. And Johnny, who said that, was one of those people that was a very few words. So he said it was a total silence across the room, and it kind of sort of stayed with us the whole rest of the season. So those are the kind of things, a setback that you remember, and y'all will talk about it next year, is that, hey, we don't want to go back to that Bledsoe County game again. And that's where your senior leadership comes in. And well, senior leadership and the guys that step up to be leaders as juniors. Do you feel like that's the way that it's going to fall?
Yeah, I know we got a lot of guys hungry to play them again. And we're going to prepare like it's the state championship game every single week. That's got to be our mentality. Like it's the last game of the year. Like we only got one shot. Because, we do. We got one shot at this, and we're going to take it serious.
Well, tell me this, I guess in practice, you guys pretty much, and I think this was the way it was my senior year, we just mainly practiced because of timing. Everybody knew their role. Everybody knew their place. Everybody knew their spot. So football practice can be grueling. What are some of the things the coaching staff do to kind of keep it competitive and kind of keep you guys loose? Because you know what you're doing, and there's no doubt about that. So you don't want too much repetition. You just want to keep timing more than anything else. But what do the coaches do to keep things light so you don't kind of put pressure on yourself?
Right. Well, of course, after a game Friday, we got practice Monday, and that's usually a non-padded practice. We usually kind of go over the stuff we did wrong and kind of get a scout for the team this upcoming week. And then Tuesday and Wednesday we're in pads. Still competing, trying to keep each other up, keep everybody healthy. But, it's competition every week. Like, we got a pretty talented team this year. And if you're being lazy, if you're giving bad reps, there's a guy behind you who's trying to play. He's trying to be on the field. So, of course, you're always competing for the guy behind you, always striving to be better. So that's a great way for our team to stay sharp. And then Thursday is usually our walkthrough day where we get ready for the team that we're playing Friday night. And, in the summer, he doesn't care who you are. Every spot's open. There's not a spot that's closed off. Everybody is competing for a spot on Friday night.
Well, tell me this. As far as being a leader, I guess you feel like you are a leader. Are you more of a vocal leader, or do you kind of lead by example?
Well, I try to be both, coach up the guys who maybe are a little young with less experience, but you can't be a vocal leader if you're not doing it right either. So I try to do it right, be a good example, and coach the guys up who need to be coached up.
Well, tell me this, it's always good to stay humble when you're a football player. Naturally on the field, you want to be competitive. You want to be yourself. You want to give it all you got. Sometimes you're going to be a little emotional. How does faith play into your game? Does it keep you humble?
It does, Of course, when you're out on the field, you got respect for the guy across from you. You don't fear him, but you got respect. You don't want anything dirty or after the whistle, but I try to go 100 miles an hour as fast as I can, as hard as I can every play with all the effort I got.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. And I'm sure your parents have really instilled that into you because, even though you might be better than the other guy, you still, like you said, you have to have respect for him.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Well, I wish you the best. I hope everything works for you. I know there's still a lot out there, probably going to be a lot of offers in the future. And I'm sure there's some areas you would like to go to and like to see. But I want to ask you this. Are you more in line to want to kind of sort of stay a little bit closer to home? Are you kind of a homebody type? Some people might want to go away and say, go out west somewhere. Are you kind of want somebody that wants to stay in the central area like the Southeastern Conference?
Well, I do, love the state of Tennessee. I love the Southeast. It's a great place to live. I like being close to home, but I also like seeing the world. You only get to see the world one time, so it'd be nice to stay closer to home. But if the right fits for me is you know somewhere else, then that's what it'll be. But it's just mainly a fit for me, and I don't put location too much into it because I would like to see other places, see other things.
Well, I'm going to guess this, that probably when you were young, there were probably one or two teams that you kind of sort of followed and said, hey, I'd like to play for them one of these days. But as you've gotten older and you go on these recruiting visits and go visit other schools, it kind of opens your mind up a little bit and broadens your horizon and opens you up for a lot more possibilities.
Yeah. Of course, you grow up watching your local teams, but then you get into this recruiting process and you start having a soft spot for other teams and being a fan for other teams, liking their coaches, their players, their staff. So it's been a great experience to see all these places and get to know kind of what their program's about.
Well, as far as the schools that you're kind of looking at that maybe show interest in you, do you follow social media or do you just kind of follow maybe the coaches? Is social media a big thing to you?
Well, of course, you kind of market yourself on Twitter. It's where you put all your stuff out on, your highlight, your height and weight, that kind of stuff. And, you follow the coaches that follow you on Twitter that are interested in you in the schools, and you kind of see what they're up to. But, yeah, social media is important because it's kind of where you market yourself at. So that's what I really used it for.
Yeah, well, I guess but you try to stay away from the negative stuff because a lot of times that can get in your head also.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely so. Well, Randy, I'll let you take it home.
Jack, there's one question that begs to be asked. Would you ever consider giving up football and coming back in the booth with me? You had a good time your freshman year.
Yeah, it's a good time up there with you. It's never a dull moment. So.
Jack was a lot of fun. He was going through a little knee issue, and we had a lot of fun up there. Jack, I want to talk about Sequatchie County. It's a special place. It's a special football program. It's a place that fills that stands on a Friday night. For a small town community, it's one of the few. There's a feeling that and it's the same at Bledsoe and at Whitwell and South Pittsburgh and Marion. It's really community-based football still. In a lot of places, the bigger cities have moved away from that. That's a special feeling to be at a school like that.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that those bigger schools don't have that we do is the pride that our community has behind our program. I mean, you go over to Chattanooga and there's a dozen schools. There's not really a fan base, a community backed behind one school. We're very fortunate to have such a strong community that takes a lot of pride in our football program. And of course, like the whole valley, it's a definitely one of the best areas in the state to be a part of football. Talented programs everywhere, great teams, great players, great fan bases. It's a special place to play football. Makes it a lot more fun.
They were 3 of 5 teams in the semifinals, 2 finalists, and I think 4 out of the 5 were in the third round. I think people overlook how good the football is in the Valley.
Yeah, the Sequatchie Valley's got a lot of good players. I mean, Jasper state champions, South Pittsburgh in the state championship. We're in the semifinals, Bledsoe in the third round, and Whitwell, in playing in the region championship game. They unfortunately got put out in the first round, but still a great team who beat some great teams and has a lot of great players over there.
Yeah, it's funny too that, and we talked about it earlier. The one thing that has a root over there is that Sequatchie Valley Middle School Championship, which goes all the way down to North Jackson. It really begins to build that Valley feeling because, hey, when you played in the Sequatchie Valley Championship, your 7th and 8th grade year, 1,000 people in the stands, covered on radio. It's really a big deal feeder program.
Yeah, it's taken serious. We got Coach Faulkner's been down there the past few years. He's up here with us now though, and he ran a great program, coached me all three years that I had him. He prepares you, gets you ready, and then now there's Coach Wisman down there who does just as good as a job, runs a great program, and gets his guys ready to play in high school.
Jack, and we've joked a lot about it. I do know your family. I do know your brother. I know your dad. And Phil asked you a little bit about it. It is like my daughter plays football, and her hero is Sam. I mean, she really looks up to Sam. That's the first person to inspire her to play flag football. Your family is a football family. Your little sister, I believe, is a cheerleader now.
All kinds of dancing and whatnot.
Yeah, your family, you love football, and there's no other way to say it than that.
Right. Of course, me and my brother, growing up, we got cousins that are all our age, and all we ever wanted to do was play football against each other, compete, whatever. We'd play football in the living room if we could. Like it was just constant competition, trying to be better than the other. And of course, my brother always being bigger and stronger than me up until the past year or so, it's made me a better player. Wanting to be better than him, always pushing myself, and it was definitely a special growing up experience.
Nobody asked me to say this. Nobody told me to say this. We do get some coaches that watch this program. You get a fine young man in Jack Evitts, and any coach that runs across this film, I would personally put my stamp on him. Jack, you also take academics serious, and your family does. Tell me about your academics pursuit.
Yes, sir. Well, you gotta start in the classroom. That's what you're going to school for first, is to get an education. And of course, my mom being a teacher, she's always been hard on me, keeping my grades straight. And she's helped me. She, of course, is a more advantage than most kids because she can help you out with some schoolwork and she starts you out early. She makes sure that you're reading books and doing math problems and all that extra stuff so you can be ahead of everybody else. At the time, I hated it, but now I realize that it's really helped me out a lot.
I've got a couple of questions from the recruiting services about you, and I always say his mom's a teacher. That should tell you about the academic side of it, and that really is where it starts. And mom runs this academic camp, just like dad may runs a football camp. Mom runs the academic camp.
Yes, sir. She keeps us in line.
Jack, and again, we don't want to talk about any school that's recruiting you now. It's too early in the process. Want to have you and your family have time, but it is for me. I looked you up one day on one of the recruiting services, and I started seeing you, and I was like, it almost had to pinch myself. I was like, this is a kid I grew up around me. Is it ever surreal to you that you look on Rivals and see second tight end in the state of Tennessee or this accolation or that out? Is it hard to understand sometime, I guess, is my question?
Yeah, well, of course, I'm very fortunate to be recognized as some of those things, and it's a very cool feeling to see all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm not worried too much about it. I appreciate everything that everybody does to get my name out there and all the hard work they put in behind it. But at the end of the day, I just kind of want to play football, and I'm not really worried about any of the extra stuff. But it is very cool to see all the recognition, of course. But like I said, I just love football.
Phil, I'll come to you after this question. Maybe we'll wrap up. And you kind of laid it out for me. I don't know anybody that loves football more than you, Jack. At what point, your freshman year, while you were going through your little medical condition, it would almost drive you crazy in the booth on football Fridays. What fueled that love of football?
Just that football tells you a lot about yourself as a person, and it reflects who you are. You get in the game what you put out of it. If you don't work hard, you don't put in the extra effort. Of course, you have the God-given ability, but it can only take you so far. It's an unforgiving game if you don't work at it. But it's the greatest game in the world. I don't know any other sport that you put blood, sweat, and tears in with your brothers every season, trying to all united to one goal, all doing the same purpose, and everybody has a unique role that's just equally as important to the team. And it's a beautiful, beautiful sport.
Bill, I'm going to tell you a secret, and Jack's going to hear it for the first time too. His freshman year, he was out for a few weeks. His dad came to me and goes, "Could you please take Jack over to the radio? We've got to find something for him to do," because it was tormenting him so much not being on the field with his teammates, that your dad wanted you to keep occupied. And I remember Jack sitting down behind me, and all I could hear was just this nervous tap. Jack, it was a lesson to you. Losing football for a few weeks was a mighty lesson to you and about your love of football.
Right. It's just God humbling you again to be not take advantage of the opportunities that He's given you. So football has been a great opportunity for me, and it's hopefully going to open up a lot of doors in the future. And it was just Him telling me I need to refocus and not be taking advantage of it.
He was a pretty good spotter, Phil, to be honest. He wasn't bad. So, Phil, close us out. Ask him some questions.
Yeah, well, I do want to ask you about this. I mean, and you had talked about this, about how good the quality of football is in the Sequatchie Valley, and Coach don't mind. He plays anybody, anytime, anywhere. I mean, your schedule is difficult every year, but do you feel like that prepares you for the playoff run, number one? Number two, when you play that competitive schedule, it keeps you from looking ahead.
Right. You always want to be worried about the opponent you got that week, but our schedule is very it's a tough schedule, but you want to be prepared for when the real football starts in November. And you can schedule 10 wins and be 10-0 and get bumped out in the first round. You can schedule 10 tough teams that prepare you for a run in November and ultimately to a state championship, which is our goal.
Yeah, and I think that was a big prepared for y'all last year, because when I looked at the schedule, I knew y'all had a good team coming back. But when you look at the schedule of who y'all played, Marion and South Pittsburgh, even though South Pittsburgh lost, like you still know they're going to be good. And Bledsoe County and those teams, Whitwell, which was improved. And I thought, man, if this team can survive the schedule, they may make a deep run in the playoffs, but not only you do that, you were very successful in that schedule.
Yeah, that schedule, of course, built us for the run that we made. It's Coach Mack, he prepares us in the best ways possible in the weight room, everything. So that schedule prepares us for a run in November.
Well, tell me this: what is your relationship with Coach McIntyre? Tell me the type of person. I've never heard people say very much about him. Tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, Coach McIntyre is a great guy. He's a football guy. He loves it more than anybody I know. He's probably the best football mind I've ever met. He runs a phenomenal high school football program I don't know anybody who runs a better high school football program than Coach Mack. He's a great person. He's a family man. He's got 3 kids and a wife, who his wife is, as much of like she's also a wonderful person. She's a teacher at the school. I had her in class this year, but he's raised 3 really good kids, and he's got an awesome family, and he's just a wonderful person.
Hey,
Well,
Phil, Jack, he raised a pretty good wide receiver too, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he can play. He can play.
Yeah. Well, tell me this: is he more of a player's coach, or is he pretty strict disciplinarian?
He of course doesn't let us act a fool. He wants us to be behaving in the classroom, getting good grades, and keeping our attitudes right on the field and off the field. But he's also there for you when you need him, and he's definitely best of both worlds kind of coach.
Is he a stickler for detail?
Oh, attention to detail, little things add up to big things. Big things is what everybody sees.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times great coaches will notice just one misstep by one player can totally destroy a play.
And gotta pay attention to detail. Got to do your job.
Yeah, definitely so. Well, tell me this. I want to know, what is your favorite subject in school?
I really enjoy history. And good thing for me, Coach Thompson, the receivers coach, is the history teacher, and he's a phenomenal teacher. So that's a very fun subject.
Well, tell me this. I know you talked about you like to play golf. What are some of the things you like to do when you can kind of get away from football? Because you can't have too much football. So I'm sure Dad would like for, and coaching staff too, sometimes get away from it a little bit. What are some of the things you do to kind of sort of take your mind off of things?
Well, like you said, golf. I've gotten bitten by the golf bug. I'm playing a few times a week now, but I like to spend time at my family farm, work up there. I like to fish. I play basketball for my school team, so that's another sport. But I love to work out, which is I guess correlates with football. But I really enjoy lifting. It takes my mind off some stuff, and then that's pretty much it. I like spending time with my family. With them.
Now tell me this, I enjoy golf, but does golf help you on the football field in a sense? Golf is one of those sports where it's total concentration. You're competing against yourself, and mentally you're competing against yourself. Yeah, you're playing against somebody, but you're basically playing yourself, and you have to prepare yourself mentally. Does that help you on the football field?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it forces you to just stay calm and swing. You got to refocus every rep. Just like football, you can't let if the last swing's a bad swing, you can't let that add up to 4 bad swings in a row. Just like in football, you drop a football, you miss an assignment. Okay, next play, you got to go to the next play. You got to let the next play be good. You can't be focused in the past. You can't let it be a domino effect. You got to keep refocusing after every rep.
Well, I got one more question for you. Friday nights, I mean, you're getting prepared and you're fixing to come out on the field. What is your favorite part? Is it running on the field and kind of sort of looking up at the stands and absorbing the atmosphere? What's your favorite part of Friday night?
Of course, winning the game at the end of the game, but before the game, Coach Matt coming in, giving us a speech, it always gets me fired up, locked in, and then running out the tunnel with my guys ready to go to war.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, Jack, I want to wish you the best. I'm sure you're going to be back on here again. I know good things are coming for you, and hopefully things will work out where you'll get to end up going ultimately where the good Lord wants to send you, because He's probably got a place for you and got a plan for you, I'm sure. Well, Randy, I'll let you take us out.
All right, Jack. I know it's running late. We're keeping you late, and we're starting to lose light on you a little bit too. But appreciate you taking time and spending time with us tonight. And the door is always open. But we do expect somewhere in the next 24 months, when you're ready to pull that trigger, you're going to keep us in the loop on it too, right?
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been great.
Jack, you're welcome back anytime. Go in there and tell Sam you're going to beat him tomorrow in golf too.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Hey, Phil, we got a big show tomorrow night. Football for Christ camp with Coach Sam Graham, Coach Grant, Coach Edwards. We got a really big show tomorrow night.
Yeah, definitely go. Got to preview that camp. I know it's a big thing down here, so we'll look forward to that. And again, Jack, thanks. I appreciate you. I wish you the best.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Jack, anytime, my friend, anytime. For Randall Cunningham, for Phil Harris, for our special guest, Jack Evitts, I'm Randall Cunningham. God bless. Come back and see us.
Thank you guys for having me.